Hey guys, Ashes of Creation just did their November development update. Just finished watching the hour-and-a-half live stream of it, and I figured I'd give you guys a summary of some of the more important details that they went through in it for any of those people that are not interested in sitting through the entire hour-and-a-half. We are going to sink into the details mostly in the same order that they went through, meaning that the Q&A section will be at the end of this video where most of the new details actually come out. The first thing that they went over was the December developer discussion will be on boss difficulty. That's where they start asking questions in social media and in the community on our opinions of a certain game mechanic. So look forward to that all in December, that being the topic of their developer discussion. They also said that December 2nd at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Harvest Dawn cosmetic packs for pre-ordering will be being shifted out, and they are going to be moving into this new cosmetic pack for December, and they showed some cosmetic art for a few of the items in those packs. They showed off the caravan cosmetic look, the pet look. They also showed off the costume and the freehold. The entire thing has an ice theme, which looks fairly cool, obviously fitting in with it being December. For anyone that has been keeping up to date with some of the Ashes Creation videos and has been wanting a little bit more from the combat, Jeffrey Barr did mention that they have a team working on the combat specifically right now to try and get it up to the AAA level in time for, I believe, their April and May alpha testing. So we may not see a whole lot of improvement in the weekend alphas or the week-long alpha, but by that month-long one, we should see some improvement. They also showed some video of a new tropical biome that they are working on for their alpha upcoming, as they will be moving from their Alpha 0 small island they were on to a larger map for Alpha 1. They said the map is going to be about 100 square kilometers, and it will be about 1/5 of the entire map when the game launches. They also mentioned that in the Alpha 1 testing, you might see some NPCs that will allow you to teleport throughout the locations in the Alpha 1 testing. This is not obviously permanent, because Ashes Creation does not want a whole lot of teleporting in it, but they want you to be able to test it in parts of the game, so that will be included. They also mentioned that for the Alpha 1 testing, there will be 9 total nodes in the map that they're using. So we'll get to test out the node system in that. However, they did say that the node spots in that test will not be the finalized spots, so that people don't get too used to where the locations are going to be when the game launches and they don't show too much. They also gave us a little bit of an environment look at this giant rock above a little bit of water, giving us a little bit of a scope with how big it is compared to ships in the game. And they did mention that nodes will use terrain like this for harbors and seaports and things like that, so that they can use the environment to create interesting ship combat or ship trade routes with the environment, and every node will use the environment in that way. So if you're next to a mountain or you're next to an interesting rock like this near the water, it will be influenced in the nodes that you use. So that's something exciting to look forward to when you're looking at the location that you want to actually settle down in. They also went through a few different images of some art for some in-house furnishings that you'll be able to craft, and they did mention that the furnishings will be able to give stat bonuses to certain things or your crafting professions. They also showed us a short video of a little bit of the lighting and the scenery in the game. Steven Sheriff mentioned that in all their current videos that they've done, they've had a static lighting so that they control the graphics and the lighting and textures in those videos, but this gave us a little bit of a look at how their dynamic lighting actually works, the different shifts in it, and how it works with the clouds and the ground and the scenery, which frankly looks quite amazing when you see the shadows on the trees and the clouds. It just looks incredible, so I'm excited to see that in some of the future videos. They also showed off some art for some of the models and design for some armor for a couple of the races. All this armor they showed was 20 and below, but they did comment and touch on the fact that there will be some transmog or cosmetic system in the game beyond costumes, but only certain items would be able to be transmogged or changed. And they also mentioned that there will be set bonuses in the game from wearing multiple pieces of the armor of the same type. So I'm looking forward to seeing what those are going to be and what kind of set bonuses we can look forward to. And then finally they got to the Q&A section, and they were asked quite a few questions. We'll try and go into those in the same order they were asked, or at least the important ones. Their developer discussion all last month was about overgearing and twinking your characters, so they did get asked that question, and they did say that overgearing at the moment is not planned for the game. They're looking at keeping a traditional level requirement on gear, so that they can build around a balance on the min-max of the stats that your characters have at whatever given level. They did touch on the fact that gear can come with any stat on it, regardless if it's plate, leather, or cloth. You might be able to have a ranger that gets a plate item that does have agility or dexterity on it. And even though it can come with any stat, that might be more difficult in some scenarios. They said that you might need a crafter to be able to adjust it or change it, or it might be harder to find the gear you want, but it is possible. And that kind of rolls right into another question they had about the loot system. They said that there will be a free-for-all looting system along with need and greed, pretty much saying you can expect the full range of loot systems and loot rules from other MMOs, and maybe more. Although some of them might not even be ready for this next alpha in December, they are trying to get ready for the next one. They did mention, because any class can wear any type of weapon or armor, that the need-greed system will technically be on the honor system. Anyone will be able to click need for any item, and it will be on the groups and the group leaders to determine whether or not they want someone that's rolling on simply everything in the group, or if they want to group with them again. So it's going to create a community that's actually built a little bit on the honor system. Instead of being locked out of rolling, you just need to roll for what you truly need. Another question they were asked was, will there be any PvP systems to be done outside of warring with another node to maybe interrupt that node in their progress? And they did say, yeah, there will be a lot of different systems outside of the structured PvP, or reasons to maybe attack another economic node to stop them from resourcing, or to interrupt players in a raid and try and kill them and PvP them while they're trying to kill a boss. Obviously, these things might lead to full-on node war, but there will be reasons to attack other players, whether they're personal or vindictive reasons, and there will be bonuses to it, like interrupting a node's progress if you're trying to stop one from getting to a metropolis or something like that. Steven Sheriff also got asked about their flagging system, and if you would be able to turn yourself to a combative just on the fly if you don't want to be a non-combative. And he went on for a while on it and kind of got sidetracked a bit, but some interesting notes that came is he does not believe he's going to include an ability to turn to combative because there's bonuses to it. You will have to attack a player in order to do that. But the interesting thing about it is he did mention that you wouldn't be able to see other players' hit points unless you were grouped with them or in a party with them, meaning you could potentially hit an enemy player and them just got to combat and be too low in health and accidentally kill them, gaining corruption. So that's going to be a unique thing, maybe stopping a lot of griefing or keeping things on edge where people don't actually know how hurt you are if they're trying to grief you. And that could create some interesting dynamic in combat. They were also asked, what's stopping raids from being trivialized a little bit in open world? If you're taking on a 40-man raid boss in the open world and you decide to bring 80 players or more than that, what's stopping players from just destroying that raid boss and making it not as important? And they did mention that that's always going to be a downside with their open world system, but they do believe the way they're going to handle it the best way will be to add in more hazards, more AoEs, and have the boss create more hazards on the arena, so that if you're bringing more players, it is easier to kill the boss. However, it might be harder to keep that many players on the battlefield without dying. So there will be some negatives to it. They're still working on that idea, but they also mentioned that in any situation where they needed a raid boss to not allow that many players, they would use an instance raid system for those particular ones, and they will use that system to control certain story development or certain raid bosses in the way that they want. The last question that they were asked was, will summoners' summons be able to get gear? And they said that no, you will not be able to equip gear on summons, only on battle pets that will act more like an item in your inventory. I'm assuming similar to Arcage. And you will be able to gear those up, but not summoners' summon pets. Those will be summoned with their specific gear on them. And the best question answer I think that they had was, what are they doing for the single player in mind? What kind of content and what are they building? And Steven Sheriff said they are building some stuff for single players. However, they are building an MMO, not a single player RPG. There are a ton of those on the market. And he put it very nicely, but it was very stern, that they are building a community and an MMO, not a single player game, which is great to hear. It's awesome to see that that's the direction they're going and that they're sticking to it. He mentioned that when you try and build a game for everybody, most often it fails because it can't please everybody. And they touched on some of the different mechanics, the things like having a node citizens chat group whenever you join and become a citizen of a node. That will create some community and some connection with people and maybe incentivize you to start being more part of your node's community, which is going to be a cool thing to see. And I'm hoping it works how they're planning. and that they take some of these single player elements we're seeing more and more in MMOs these days and get rid of them and make the game more difficult.